What is up, guys? It's your boy Brendan, aka Drip, back with another video and another awesome deck profile. In today's video and deck profile, we have an updated virtual world list. I told you guys I was going to update this list probably kind of frequently. This was the version that I was mentioning when I did my previous video, when I did my pure one. This is my adventure list. There's a gap between the two lists because I had to get the adventure engine, obviously, and then I got kind of set back because I was mainly focusing on Despia at the time and my regionals that I was coming up to, and I wanted to focus all my attention on that. But I also finally sat down. I just wanted to make a list that is my own. I also needed more practice with virtual world to be able to try to know the ins and outs completely, which I did before when I made my previous list, but I wanted to basically put everything aside, because I've focused so much on Despia at one point, I kind of lost my way. So I wanted to just completely focus on this deck, start from scratch, which is the basics, and then work my way into this list, which I literally love this list card for card. I would not change a single thing about this list. I really love this deck and what it does, and definitely what the adventure engine brings to this deck. But before we get into this video, guys, if you please hit that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. A lot of you guys are returning members, and it hurts my feelings to see when a lot of you are returning members and you're not subscribed, because there's I think it's 90% of you guys who are actually returning members are not subscribed. So please do your boy a favor and hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload, and let me know in the comment section if you want to see a certain deck profile or something. I'm open for for whatever you want to see. Also, please check out the description for the Discord if you want to become the Discord fam. Check out the merch store down there too. Have a bunch of cool things, whether it's stickers, t-shirts, hats, pillows, you name it, ranging from a bunch of different prices. Sadly, I do not make the prices. The company that I'm kind of partnered with does. So there's that. And feel free to check out the Patreon, another way to support me and what I do to try to help you guys and bring you all more content. There's a bunch of cool little rewards with the Patreon and whatever branch you decide to, whatever tier you decide to go with. And I'm going to do some more things here soon with those tiers to try to make the rewards even better than what they already are. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into this profile. One thing I will say is, like I said already, this list, I mean, for the most part, virtual world is kind of cookie cutter, but I made my list, I started from the base, and then I worked my way around and figured out how the two engines synergized and what levels it opened me up to and what cards I could basically run as a tech options and stuff like that. So there is a couple of cards in here that is very spicy, which you'll see when we get there, that it's really gross what some of the things in this deck can do. But for the virtual world engine, we got three Lulu. She's the best girl. 3 Gigi. We like adding stuff back to her hand. 3 Lily. Please don't roast me on the rarities. I ordered 3 ultra rares, and the person only sent me 1. So only 2 Lao Lao, and then 2 Nan Yan. Okay, so hear me out on the Lao Lao. Don't get me wrong, I know virtual world needs names and you need to draw the names, but Lao Lao is the one that you mainly want to search. With no disrespect to Lao Lao, I love what Lao Lao provides to the combo and provides as a deck, but Lao Lao is, in my personal opinion, out of all these, the worst one to see. A lot of people would say Nan Yan because she doesn't really do nothing for you, but my personal opinion, I love seeing this card. If I see this card in any other name, I'm super happy. I really am. Because I want to get Nan Yan online as much as possible. And I know a lot of people actually been dropping Nan Yan down to 1. Even with Run Desires, I find that incorrect. I like the second one because if I banish it, it's impossible to really get her back, or if it is, and it's really hard to get her back. So I really just I really want the second copy, and I like the second copy. I love my ratios here. There's nothing I would change. Again, like I said, like I play tested this deck for like online for like the past week and a half, and like I swap cards in and out and move things around, and this is literally card for card the list that I thought was like perfect and I've had the most success with. Let's not talk about Locals Live. If we watch Locals Live, you saw me get bodied by Solemn Judgment and freaking Lost World. I didn't lose to Dinos. I lost to fucking Solemn Judgment and Lost World. I don't want to talk about it. But not even really Lost World that much, because I bodied the Lost World with the freaking Adventure Engine. You bounced the Lost World and got rid of it. But there's not much you can do with a deck that relies on board presence. And you have to, because First World relies on board presence. So it's nothing you can really do, and you have to face down 2 Solemns and a freaking Pankratops trying to combo, so... But for the Adventure, we got 3 water. This engine is just so juicy and so good in this freaking deck because water is a level 3. We already know where that comes into play. This engine refills the hand, and also gets access to like effects engraved, which takes up the burden that the Virtual World archetype has when it comes to the add into hand and discard. Because Virtual World loses most games when they are unable to control the board state while not being able to refill their hand. So basically, it's hard for Virtual World to refill the hand, which with Yu-Gi-Oh, you kind of lose if you can't refill the hand and like have follow-ups or maintain hand advantage. So Virtual World like kind of loses when it comes to that, but the Adventure Engine kind of like helps out with that in that regard, because like you just add this to hand, or if you already have this in hand, you use King Wong to banish to add, and you just dump this for free, and then you banish this to add the Rite of Armesier, and then you use Fateful to get the Draco back, and then you can dump the Draco back off of like the trap when you reborn stuff, and then just dump the Draco backs, equip the Draco back, and just go off. Yeah, there's so many things that synergize with that. And then I'm only on 2 right and 1 Fateful, 1 Draco back, 1 Griffin, and 1 Illegal Knight. Illegal Knight actually just came in today. It's kind of frustrating. I ordered this card 2 weeks ago, and it just now got here. I pre-ordered it or whatever. And I didn't even pre-order it. It was already out for like 2 days, and then I bought it, and it literally took 2 weeks to get here, which is kind of frustrating when it was only coming from like 2 states away, but it's whatever. It's stupid. But no, this is the perfect lineup. The only reason I even run a second Rite of Armesier is because I run Desires. That's literally it. If it wasn't for me running Desires, I would run 1 right, which you can talk about how the 2 conflict with each other, Desires and this package, because if you banish the Draco back or the Fateful, the rest of these engines are kind of dead, which is kind of wrong, because these cards, even if like you banish these 2, these cards are still good, and the waters are still good, because these will give you they give you access to different levels, which is really nice, which opens up your extra deck to a bunch of like crap that's just ridiculous. So this gives you a 4, which opens up your 10s and stuff like that, and then the 7s will get you 10s too. These are 3s you can use to sync with or XZ with, and then banish to add the right back from grave or deck to hand. It's a lot, and this card is just freaking cracked because you go full combo on them. You just hold this in hand, because this in certain degrees is like better than Griffin Rider, because this helps you play around imperm. So like you could just hold this in hand and then wait until they have something, special it, and then wait until something problematic comes along and shuffle their crap back. So if you're playing against like Albaz, for an example, you just let them summon the Griffin Rider, not the Griffin Rider shit. You let them summon the Lebellion, and then make sure this is already on field. So basically, you chain this to the Branded Fusion. So you chain this from hand to special, and then when they use the when they make the Lebellion, they let them activate the Lebellion effect. Chain this to the Lebellion effect to shuffle the Lebellion back into the extra deck, and then they basically cannot make Mirror Jade unless they have the Patchwork engine in hand. It's just really cracked, and then if they don't find a way to get rid of this card, when a turn comes back to you, you just use Draco back to bounce this from their field back to your hand, and it's live again. It's really gross. Or you can just special it, and then since it's a 7, you use 7 and a 3 to go into a 10, a level 10 Synchro. There's a lot of crap that's really good between the synergy between the two. It's really just I don't know, man. It just feels like the Adventure Engine is literally the missing piece that Virtual World really needed. And the things that this deck can do now, after me playing Pure for a while, Pure is fun, don't get me wrong. It's just Kaliga or Dragoon and Crystal Wing is not going to get you anywhere in this meta. So, like, you need an extra push and ways to have more flexible, like, starters or extenders or open up to different extra deck monsters. Onto the hand trap lineup. The busted Gamma. Gamma is like slept on this format. And then the one card that we always draw, the driver. Gamma is so good because it, like, no one's really, if you start your combo with water, no one's really expecting you to play Virtual World. And there's only a couple of decks that outside Virtual World that play Gamma right now. The only reason I even say a couple, because I know someone in the comment section, if I said no other deck, then they'll be like, well, my other deck plays it, yada, yada, I still play it. So I'm just going to say a couple of other decks. So, like, and you have this in hand, you just punish them so hard because you get your right, then you can make, whatchamacallit, what the hell is his name? Omega, and then punish them even harder, or you can hold this with the 6, and then you can use this to make 8s, because I have Synchro 8s in this deck, so which you'll see. So you can hold this for a 6, or you can make Omega, or you can make another 8. And then we got the Ash. These are literally the only hand traps that I'm running, because because these are the best ones in my personal opinion right now for this deck. Ash just hits so much. It hits everything. It hits Brand of Fusion. It hits Rogue. It hits a lot of stuff, so it covers all the bases. So these are all the real go second cards that I run, because between Virtual World and the Adventure Engine, you just break boards no matter what. So these help you. On top of that, Ash, I play Ash 2 because outside of she covers the most bases, she's a tuner and a level 3. So we can overlay with her, or we can sync with her to make 6s, or we can sync with her to make 9 if we need to normal summon. So that works out too. And then moving on to the rest of the extenders / monsters, the last 2 monsters in deck, I run Destrudo. People do not run this card anymore, and I don't know why. This card was banned for a reason, and it low-key probably should still be banned. This card is disgusting. We run Foolish in our deck, so outside we can just send it off Beatrice. We run Foolish too because sometimes Foolish can come up because it can get you a different name in the grave for like Lao Lao, or it can get your Yan Yan engraved if you can't get access to it, or your Water engraved, or you can just get this engraved. So I know it's normally not like a staple card that most like Virtual World decks play, but it actually has a lot of utility in this deck, and I like it a lot. But this Destrudo, this card opens up your extra deck to literally so much. You can make this a 1 by targeting a 6. Make a sync 7, make a sync 8. Because of the 7s, you can make a sync 10 with this. You can do a lot. You can overlay with it. At the cost of 4,000 life points, when you're just going to beat your opponent anyways, it's really freaking good. And then the last monster in the main deck is Scythe, because we do Scythe lock. This deck can Scythe lock so consistently, it's ridiculous. All you need is 2 names, 2 Virtual World names, that's it. And a way to get to Beatrice, because Beatrice sends this, and you make a 4, and then you just take your 6 and a 4 to make Baron de Fleur, and then on their draw phase, Beatrice to dump the Scythe, standby phase, the Baron de Fleur to send bring us back from grave. And it's really gross too, because if it forces our opponent, fun fact, if you scythe lock in this deck, what makes it really nice about this deck is one, this deck can still do it during the standby phase, unlike the other people who's doing the TG Wonder Magician and all that during the main phase. This deck can do it during the standby phase still, and on top of that, if they use an imperm or a chalice or a droplet, definitely a droplet, they're forced with the droplet to send a trap, because if not, we have a live Chuche where our Chuche can literally just pop our scythe. So we summon scythe effect, they chain droplet for an example, but they don't send a trap. Chuche, shuffle 2 back, pop our scythe will resolve engrave when they're scythe locked, on top of having to deal with the adventure engine and whatever else you may have on board. So it's really gross and really easily accessible. But that's it for the monsters. On to the spells. The best extender in this deck, and I'm afraid Punk is going to freaking get it banned or put back to 1. Don't roast me in the comment section about having rares and 1 ulti. If you see my pure video, I bought the ulti when this card was still at 1, and it was like $30, and now I'm not paying that much for the other 2. Sorry, not sorry. This card is expensive, and it's expensive for a good freaking reason. So, 3 E-Telly. This card is so nasty. It's literally any name for Virtual World. And then I know some things people are going to be mad at. 2 King Long. 2 Kowloon. 2 Desires. So let me talk about this real quick. You only really want to resolve Kowloon once. And if you need to, you just use it. The other one as a generic spell to send. So if you don't send it off of combo, then you just can add it later. Same with King Long. King Long, I know, like, you can dump it off of the adventure engine and all that. But this third one, like, never really comes up because you never want to see this in hand. You always want to send it. But if you see it in hand, you can still get it out of your hand fairly easy with the combo with the water and even the adventure engine and stuff like that. I know this is not standard, but I've been running 2 and 2, and it literally works out for me. I've never missed it at 3. I've never... even though you're running Desires, I've never, like, missed it. I really haven't. And I know that's kind of crazy, but, like, give it a shot. Trust me, you won't regret it. But if I was running pure, hell yeah, I'd be running 3 and 3 still. 100%. On to the one-ofs. 1-ofs, we got the Foolish Burial. Foolish has so, like I said before, Foolish has so much utility in this deck, it's unreal. 1 Call by the Grave, because Call by the Grave is just ridiculously cracked right now. It's just gross, and Ash just crucifies this deck, so might as well have a Call by the Grave to pair with our Gamma. Every time I see Call by the Grave, it's just game. 2 Chuche and 1 Zhongwu. This is standard. You need it, no more, no less. 45 in the main, fellas and ladies, if there's ladies watching. Just duelists, I guess. Onto the extra deck. The extra deck is where crap gets really spicy, and my deck veers off from the rest of, like, people's lists. Even if they're running Adventure Engine, this is where my deck kind of veers off. Yes, there's a lot of standard staples, but like I said before in a lot of my videos, a lot of decks are kind of cookie cutter, but there is some flexible spots to where you can move things around to where you want. Sasuke, because he sees in our opponent's deck and tells us what we need, and we don't need a Millennium Eye, we need the Sharingan. On for the XZs, I am still on Gossip Shadow. I know a lot of people don't run this anymore and hasn't really been seen that much in Virtual World outside of, like, the early stages, but I really like this card because a couple of reasons. 1, Nibiru is a card and hates and kills this deck. 2, refilling the hand and hand advantage is a thing with this deck. So if this deck can't make a board presence at all or retain hand advantage at all to try to keep up with the decks nowadays, you just lose. Yes, I know it's a drawback to where your opponent draws a card, but in the cost of a negate and you time it properly, no matter what they draw, your negate is probably more impactful than the card that they draw. On top of that, the third reason is D-Barrier is a freaking card, guys. So if they're going to stop me from getting to, like, my synchros, my synchro negates, I'm going to XZ into my XZ negates along with giving me hand advantage by drawing. So this is the kind of stuff you got to keep in mind. And then Fan. This card, people, I think this is one of the most, like, between, this is a tie between first or second as the most slept on freaking Virtual World card. This deck has a terrible, in my personal opinion, has a terrible go second against control decks that are running floodgates and shit like that. And Fan says no. Specifically Eldritch. You just straight up just banish their Golden Lord on field and their crap and grave, so they get no follow up and they lose a Golden Lord, so it sets them back like kind of like 2 plays really. Because the reason why it's kind of like 2 plays, I know I'm just using Eldritch as an example right here. I know there's other control decks that play like Tikaboo and all that stuff and Skill Drain and all that, even though Skill Drain don't really matter because all our stuff activates the hand. But you get my drift. I'm just using Eldritch right now as an example because this is good against Striker and other ones too. But I'm using Eldritch right now. So, like, for an example, a reason why you kind of set Eldritch back in particular back by 2, because they after you banish, like, let's say you banish their Conch and Grave and then their Golden Lord on field, it sets them back kind of like 2 plays because they're forced to find a way to set up a Sanguine and a Conch yet again to get access to the pop. Because normally they have to set up one in order to set up the other, and then normally it takes like 2 turns to kind of set up both again, unless they just hard draw the cards. So basically, because you know how like the golden lands will set the elixirs and elixirs will set the golden lands, basically, right? So like if you banish the Conch from Grave, they can't get a Sanguine. And then you banish the Golden Lord, they don't have a Golden Lord no more. So they're going to be forced to find a hard draw of the cards or have them in their field already or in their grave already in order to get access to that. And it's going to take 2 to 3 turns to probably get that set up. And by that turn, you just kill them. So Fan like helps out with that. And I love this card tremendously. Outside of that, it's an XZ too. So I wanted to try to find a perfect balance between Synchros and XZ because D-Bear just called Synchro. And usually a lot of people think, oh, well, I'll win now. No, not in my build, buddy, because one, I run the Adventure Engine, so I don't really need my extra deck that much as long as I have a combo with that, and then I could just make XCs with this deck, so I could still set up a kind of an interruption board or just kill you. 1 Beatrice because she's standard and she's required for the combo. And then 1 Zeus. Zeus is Zeus. So, like, nothing I really need to be said here. I'm not playing the Gaia. I know a lot of people play the Gaia to get more materials. It's kind of unnecessary because you could just make any of these guys attack and then make this and then have a 3 material Zeus, so or more. So like, yeah, not much needs to be said about that. This is all the XZs I run. I know I said I wanted to find a perfect balance, but I feel like the utility that comes from these are enough to kind of get me there if I get de-buried between these and the Adventure Engine. Now for the Synchros. Zolkin because it's standard. Coral Dragon. Outside of Fan, Juji is the other one that's most slept on. This card is just ridiculous. This helps you in your control matchups. Definitely your Golden Lord matchup with your Eldritch players because his or her effect is really nice. Protection effect. The Send effect is really gross too because it just fuels your Chuche, which is really nasty, which I'm sure a lot of you know that. Coral Dragon's gross at going second. Charge Warrior is Charge Warrior, clears the board. It's a invoked fucking whatchamacallit, Purgatrio and an Upstart Goblin. That's gross. Don't really need to be said. I like playing against Flunder players and half my deck's kind of like wind, so like they're like summon Barrier Statue and they think they got a free double me and I'm like, oh, that's cool, dog. I don't worry about it. And that, like, because they set up like Impin and like Barrier Statue and I'm like, oh, that's cute. Just get to play anyways and just break your board and kill you because you're trash. They're not trash. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. They're not trash. The deck is trash. I hate birds. Sorry. Love you. Bird players. But that's it for the sixes and this Zolkin. I count Zolkin as a 6 because obvious reasons. Where it gets really spicy. This is a spicy card, and a lot of y'all are probably not going to understand why. This is my own little spice. I haven't seen nobody else running this card, and ever since I added it's worked wonders. And a lot of y'all are going to be like, how you make this? Well, you get access through it through your Destrudo or your Adventure Engine by giving you different levels. And we were running 1-7, and that is Yugioh. Yugioh is freaking gross. Gross, let me tell you. This card is nuts in this deck. You make it, okay? Use this to pop anything, and it can't be targeted, so they can't impermanent or anything like that. So you just pop, and then it can summon worms, bro. You could summon Lily, or it can summon Gigi from deck for free. So let's say you're having issues getting to like multiple names. You just can use your, if you have access to Destrudo, use your Destrudo and whatever else to get into Yugioh. Yugioh to pop like a back row, a floodgate, or a monster to replace itself with one of these. One of these to give you a different level. Or whatever you need, because these are worms. And it can special summon a worm directly from deck. Really, really gross. Yugioh is really good in this deck. I love it. And I really do, dude. I love it so much. You should give it a try. 1 Omega. Omega's Omega. Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing is Crystal Wing. Not much needs to be said about that. It's combo. Basically, it's just been a combo for Virtual World for a while now. Another saucy one for me is Scarlet, because it's a Regeki. It blows up everything. And I'm tired of losing in time. I'm sick and tired of going to game 3s and not being able to go to battle phase because my games last too long, and then just losing in time. So this takes care of that. But no, Scarlet is really good for those games you go into time, or you just don't want to burn that many resources. You can just make an 8 and then just use his effect to blow up the board. It comes up a lot because it baits, negates, and baits interactions before you proceed any further in your combo. I know, like off the first hand, or like trying to describe this properly. At first glance, this might seem like it is like kind of impossible to make because we're not used to with Virtual being able to make 8s or 10s and all that stuff. But with this added engine with Adventure, Avenue 4s, because like sometimes you don't even have to really use the Adventure cards in order to get the negates and stuff like that. You can mainly just like use them to get access to different levels with their token being a 4, or their monsters being 7s and stuff like that. So like it comes up a lot. Between them and Destrudo is how you get to these other levels, and you can get to them fairly easy. Moving on to the 9s, we only run 2. We run Shinshin, the best card, and then Vermilion. I like Vermilion. I know a lot of people don't like Vermilion anymore, but I still like Vermilion to have access to it. A lot of people are like, well, you just make Coral Dragon and you get a +1 off of it because you can sync it off. Yeah, that's true, but we like making Coral Dragon, pop a card, sync into Vermilion, and then draw a card, and then pop another card. So like it comes up. I like these two. And what's really nice about this too is the fact that this can put your waters back, put your waters back in the grave. You can put your waters back in the grave. You can put your rest of your Adventure Engine back in the grave. You can put whatever you want back in the grave. So that effect is really gross about this. So it's really nasty when you get both engines flowing and just working together. It's really funny. And then the last card in the entire deck is Baron de Fleur. I was going to run the other Sync 10, the Sword Soul one, not the new one, not the Supreme Sovereign, but the old one, the one that gets attack off of, I think it's Cheng Ying. The one that gets attack off of banish cards. It gets 100 attack for every banish card. But replace that with Yugioh. I feel like Yugi's better. If I'm making a Sync 10, I'm making this because there's plenty of ways in this deck to abuse this card. And it's very easy for this deck to Scythe Lock twice. Like, you can just continuously keep Scythe Locking and just loop it. because basically you scythe, right? Let's say you don't need a Papa Chuche. You just scythe, you Baron, shuffle back, summon Scythe. Scythe is a level 5, okay? You can summon your 3s and make your Sync 8s. So you can make Omega or you can make Scarlet. The list goes on. Or like even if you don't use a 3, you can just still have access with through like your Destrudo. So like that's why I'm saying Destrudo and stuff like helps play the part. So like you get Engrave again, and then you can just sync for Baron again, and then Scythe lock them in their standby phase yet again. So it's very easy for this deck to do that. So but that's it for the extra deck. Tokens. We like tokens. Adventure Time token because we play Adventure Dungeon. I will show you guys the side deck because there is a side deck made because this is a tournament deck. If you know, then if you don't know, I only show side decks on tournament decks. So like decks I use at tournaments or I take to an event or whatever. This is what I'm using for this deck. Twin Twister, 2 of them. Because like I said, backward decks hurt this deck. Personally, I feel. 2 Dark Ruler. Dark Ruler, I want Dark Ruler because of obviously a lot of stuff. Like you can claim this would be bad right now because of Despia, which against Despia, Dark Ruler is kind of dookie. Because they could just play out of it with Brandon Red and all that. But against Sword Soul and everything else, and everybody else trying to Scythe Lock during the main phase, this just says no to them. So, and I'm not really that worried about not being able to OTK that turn. I'm just worried about breaking their board and gaining control. So, which I can easily do if I don't have to worry about no interruptions. So like where I lack hand traps in this build, in this deck, because I wanted to maximize on consistency, you need to compensate elsewhere. And what I mean by that is when you don't run hand traps, you need to run board breakers, which Dark Ruler is a board breaker, and then our next card in the side deck is a board breaker. 2 Dark Hole. This card is gross, cracked. Comes in clutch. I like it. I prefer it over Lightning Storm, and I prefer it over Geki. If you have seen my videos, I've explained to you the reasoning before. If you have not seen my videos, I'll explain it to you now. The reason why I prefer Dark Hole over all of those is, 1, it's a soft once per turn. 2, it's OG as hell. 3 is the most important reason. It plays through Mystic Mine. Mystic, because this wipes both sides, and if you side this in to wipe your opponent's board, and they just Mystic Mine you, if you hard draw another one later on, you just use it again after you have monsters, it wipes your board, resets the board, both boards are even, Mystic Mine dies. So this is better in my personal opinion because it has more versatility. I'm not worried about losing my board if it comes to the cost of a Mystic Mine. So, yes, Dark Hole all day. Droll and Lockbird because bird shit is a deck and I don't want to catch bird flu, so I use Droll and Lockbird as protection. And other decks, of course. D-Berry because it's the best card this format. Oh, sorry guys, sorry. 2 Evenly Matched because Evenly Matched is evenly matched. And then my sauce in my deck, dude, my side deck is gross. This card is so gross in this deck, it's unreal. I was just looking through my bulk one day and I saw this card, and I remember reading it at one point, like a long time ago, that it was really busted for synchros, and I reread it again, and holy cow, this card is nasty. And that is Gravity Collapse. This card is so freaking gross, it's unreal. Let me read it to you real quick, or we can read it together. It says, when your opponent would summon a monster or monsters, send 1 face-up synchro monster you control to the graveyard, negate the summon. If you do, destroy that monster. Your opponent cannot summon monsters until the end of the turn. It just sorry, I was over here. It completely just ends their turn, basically, at the cost of sending a synchro, which the most like generic synchro we can send is whatchamacallit. The whatever it is, the Zolkin. So like that wouldn't backfire. This card is really good in this deck, and Sword Soul. People like I think forgot about this card or don't know what it is, but I'm here to tell you that it is very, very good in this deck. And the last card is the red reboot, because we do not want to get D-Barrier. D-Barrier is a card. Altergeist is a terrible deck. Eldritch hurts this deck. The backer decks, it just hurts really bad. So red reboot says no. And that's it for my main, extra, and side deck. To talk about this deck, I really enjoy this deck. I love this deck card for card. There's literally nothing I would change. I think you should honestly give it a try. It is a sleeper meta deck in my personal opinion. Like when I play Despia players, outside of the fact probably because I know their deck probably better than most people that play it, I just body them all the time. Sword Soul is it's a hit and miss on that because Blackout's a card. But Sword Soul is actually a really grindy matchup, but this deck has a very good Despia matchup, and that right there alone is a reason enough to play it, because Despia is the best deck right now. But no, yeah, I advise you to give this deck a try. It's super fun, super consistent with the addition of the Adventure Engine. Not like I said, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I really do. I love being able to get on here and talk to you guys. I know a lot of y'all don't like me talking, but I don't know. I just like I want to set you all up for success and try to let you know everything that I have learned in the process of me making this deck and working on this deck and working on the ratios. So it saves you the time, and that's all I want to do, is try to bring you all the best content and save you all the most time so y'all can get out there and have fun and duel and know as much as you can know about this deck or any deck that I do when I do deck profiles. But again, guys, I hope you all enjoy the video. Please leave a like if you haven't already. Check out all the ways to support me and my channel in the description below. And with that being said, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful night, morning, evening, whenever you're watching this video. I hope you all are staying safe out there in the ending age of COVID. It's your boy, Brendan, a.k.a. Drip, out. Peace. Good dueling, my guys.